Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. This is Zukair Ahmed and today we are going to discuss about the viruses. In this lecture we discuss about viruses, their general features of viruses, etc. First of all, we see what's mean by virology. Virology is the branch of biology in which is mainly deal with the viruses. In virology, we discuss about the viruses, their complexes, their structure, their pathogenicity, mode of action, etc. If we discuss about what are the viruses are the subatomic particles. We can define them as acellular living organisms whose genomes consist of the nucleic acids, and these viruses are obligate parasite and mainly they live in the body of animals, plants and the bacterial cells. Obligate parasites mean the viruses does not have ability to live without any host. For example, these viruses does not have ability to live without the body of animal, without plants and bacterial cell. Virus contain their genetic material, but their genetic material cannot replicate independently. That's why they always depend on the other cell for their replication. And their replication is the basic mode of their pathogenicity. How they can cause disease to their replication. Okay. If we discuss about the viruses, these viruses does not contain any type of cellular organization. Mean there is no any cell wall. We can't see any type of cell membrane or cytoplasmic organelles, etc. As we know that according to the cell theory, the viruses are acellular particles. Why? Because the cell theory does not explain the nature of viruses. That's why after cell theory, another theory, the protoplasm theory, were proposed by scientists. This protoplasm theory actually explains the nature of viruses. According to the protoplasm theory, every organism having protoplast, having DNA, are considered living organisms. As we know, viruses have protoplasm in their body in the form of fluid which is present inside their capsid, and similarly viruses contain the genetic material, either RNA either DNA, but not both at a time. These viruses are much more smaller in size, and most of the viruses are pathogenic. But still, some viruses are present which does not cause on top of diseases, etc. But the virus name indicate that these are the pathogenic organisms because they cause different types of diseases, etc. If we discuss about the main properties of viruses, first one is the virus does not have cellular organization. I already discussed that viruses does not contain any type of cellular organization, mean it does not contain cytoplasm, cell wall, cytoplasmic organelles, etc. As we know that it does not contain any type of cytoplasmic organelles, for example ribosomes, etc. That's why because of this thing the viruses does not contain cellular organelles. Due to it, the viruses depend on other living organism for its replication. Okay, viruses does not have any self-replicating ability because it does not contain any type of organelles. For example, it does not contain ribosomes. Okay, that's why viruses can't replicate independently. Second thing, the important to us is the viruses contain nucleic acid, but nucleic acid is maybe the DNA or RNA, but now neither both at a time. Mean as we discuss about the higher organism, for example bacteria, for example if we discuss about the humans, plants, other animals, etc., they contain both DNA as well as the RNA. R type of RNA, three types of RNA: transfer RNA, messenger RNA, ribosomal RNA. All of these types of RNA present in their body at a time. But in the case of viruses, viruses does not contain both of these at a time. There are some viruses which are known as DNA viruses, and some viruses are known as RNA viruses. Why? Because these viruses contain either DNA, either RNA, not both. Another important point for viruses is that these are the obligate intracellular parasites. They only live within the body of other living organism. Within the cell, inside the cell they live, and these are the obligate parasite outside of living cell. They they remains in the form of crystals. They are acting as a non-living particles. That's why we use the term obligate parasite for viruses. The another important thing is the viruses does not contain any type of enzymes, any type of organelles as well, which are responsible for protein synthesis, DNA or nucleic acid synthesis. That's why it does not contain any type of machinery, and the machinery which is used for this purposes is the cell of host. It does not contain these unnecessary materials. That's why the viruses are always the obligate parasites. The another important thing about viruses is that the viruses multiply by complex process, not by simple division process. Binary process. Viruses divide through a complex process of transformation, transduction, etc. And these are the somehow complex than the normal binary fission as we see in bacteria. Another important thing is the viruses are the unaffected by antibacterial antibodies. As in whenever the viruses were discovered, as we know these are the pathogenic organisms, the researcher and the doctors at that times use antibiotics for killing the viruses, but the result is that the antibiotics are totally unaffected on these viruses. Why? Because most of the antibiotics have targeted site either the cell membrane, either the cell wall, either the cytoplasm, but viruses does not contain any type of such organelles. That's why these antibiotics does not have any type of pathogenic action on these viruses. Viruses are generally considered as microorganisms in medical biology in spite of basic differences. So we discuss them as a microorganism. Why? Because they contain genetic material and they have ability of replication. Now we move toward the morphology of viruses, but we discuss these things in our upcoming video. I hope you understand this thing. Here we discuss about the viruses, their properties, why viruses have some specific types of mechanisms and viruses does not contain some types of mechanisms, etc. I always need your response. Okay, thank you. Best of luck, and you must give me your feedback about this lecture.